This is the most advanced target that we had in this very large hydrothermal system.
I mean, the footprint of porphyry has expanded, I don't know how much, but it's like a lot.
Every drill hole that we've drilled top to bottom is altered. Every drill hole that we've drilled top to bottom has porphyry-style B veins.
But also, okay, how to get such a big friggin' porphyry system, maybe multiple centers.
And all of that is leading to this area based on the things that we're looking for to find a porphyry center within this large system.
Hello everyone, the Hedgeless Horseman here. I'm here with Wendell Zerb, CEO of Red Canyon, and for full disclosure, I own shares of Red Canyon, family members own shares of Red Canyon, and they're a passive banner sponsor as well, so biased. But anyway, the company had news out recently from their, I would say, flagship Kendal project in BC, and I think I'm not the only one who, found it going above my head, I guess, because it was very technical, and I'm not a porphyry expert, so I thought it was a good idea to get Wendell here and actually, explain to us and me what they're seeing, what's happening on the ground, the good and the bad and the, potentially ugly, who knows. So yeah, let's start off with maybe giving a brief description about the thesis behind Kendal and why you think a partner like Tech, for example, actually bet on this company.
Sure, thanks, Eric. Well, first of all, there's nothing ugly about Kendal except that it's large. And when you're dealing with large systems, you can have all the clues and geological clues, geophysical clues, but what you do is you sort of sniff your way to the best parts of where to test next, and you go from there. So yes, we targeted this year's program on an area that we called Kendal Ridge. And Kendal Ridge was basically an extension to the south from where we tested a small area last year. But when you back up a little bit on Kendal, first of all, we know that there's fabulous infrastructure, and that infrastructure actually comes in on a series of logging roads on the west side of this big hydrothermal alteration footprint. And to make that part simple, these big porphyry systems have a very large footprint, and this footprint is manifested by different alteration minerals that you see on surface. So this year's program was testing an extension of the west side of this large footprint. And the footprint itself is measured by geochemistry that we see on surface. It's measured by the magnetics that we see. We recently did what's called a mobile MT survey, which measures the resistivity of these rocks. And all of these things packaged together tells us that we're onto a very large system. You can expand that by what we see in the drainages on Kendal, and you can also expand that by the small number of drill holes that we've put in. Every drill hole that we've drilled top to bottom is altered. Every drill hole that we've drilled top to bottom has porphyry-style B veins within them. And that's now expanded well over 1.5 kilometers along kind of let's call it a north-south corridor that we've tested thus far. So going into this press release, what we've explained in the press release is really that we've tested another area. It's called Kendal Ridge. This is the most advanced target that we had in this very large hydrothermal system. Uh, we've done mapping, we've done chemistry programs, and all of that is leading to this area based on the things that we're looking for to find a porphyry center within this large system. And we've already voiced within communication and in different news releases and so on that we think that there could be multiple centers. And so we use all the clues that we can to try to we call it vectoring into the best part of the system. So again, backing up a little bit, Kendal Ridge area has very high elevated porphyry style B vein densities that we were able to map. This is areas that are exposed in the rocks. It has other things that we look for, thorium, potassium lows, relative magnetic lows. It has a transition between resistive and conductive rocks. And all of these things are sort of technical jargon to sort of use this geoscience and geophysics to, again, find the best part of a system. So what we tried to convey in this last press release was really quite simple in so many ways. Is we put in 5 drill holes. We've tested a portion of this Kendal Ridge. What we see within these drill holes is, again, porphyry style mineralization throughout. Drilling concentrated more on the eastern side of this ridge because we were seeing that drilling to the west looked a little bit colder and didn't look like it had the same number of B veins attached to it. And the end of what we've basically concluded is that the east part of Kendal Ridge has the stronger mineralization, and everything seems to be trending towards the east. So we don't have any assays back from any of these drill holes. We're really going by our expertise and being able to look at the core. We're really excited again that you see massive fluid flow in these rocks. I mean, it's just the number of veins you see, the alteration footprint, multiple vein series of veins that have come over different periods. And again, all of this concludes to us that we're onto a really big system. But what we also concluded is that we're still sort of hunting for the best part of a porphyry center. So we're really positive about what we saw. It was very targeted. It was a really small area that we were testing. And part of the reason we wanted to test there was we had road access, so it was simple for us. When we raised capital, it was getting later in the season. And we were able to actually very inexpensively put 5 drill holes into an area that we really like, told us a lot. And again, we're excited about those results, but we also wanted to make sure that investors knew that we're now directing our focus a little bit further to the east. Maybe expanding on that a little bit, we also conveyed in this press release that knowing that the size of this system is so large, we conducted a very large geochemical program at the same time that this drilling was going on, because we know that the footprint could have multiple centers. And as you progress from where we drilled to the east, you have less and less exposure of rock. And for us, the best method to test geochemically what's underneath is to do a big soil program. So we completed that. We also see further to the east, immediately east of where we drilled, we see these big breccia zones that have copper and molybdenum in them. We see what are called high-grade hypogene chalcocite veins, which give us some fabulous high-grade copper. And that's all, again, vectoring to the east. So this small program, we were really excited about it. We thought that we could be on to the center. seems to be a little bit further to the east, but nevertheless, we're not discouraged at all. We just know that these systems need work, and we didn't spend a lot of capital to test this, and we've got lots of capital yet to go back. And all of that packaged together, says immediately to the east, and then this new geochemical program we think is going to outline new areas to test in this large 4 kilometer by 3 kilometer area.
Right. So I mean, if we would have been really lucky, you would have hit, let's say, a potassic core immediately. I mean, this quick. I've heard someone say what the average drilling is to find a porphyry. I don't remember, but it's sure more than what you drilled so far. So it sounds like, I mean, as per exploration being a process that you're kind of, it's getting harder and harder, basically. I mean, you know which way it's trending. I mean, it makes me think a bit about take inflection, for example. It's like knowing which way it's getting colder also tells you which way obviously it's getting hotter then. So that's it's very valuable information, even though yes, you don't have a discovery in hand, but given the fact that it's such a big system, it's like, again, I'm not a porphyry expert, but if you have potentially multiple centers, I mean, that's probably going to be some, I was going to say, noise to figure out, because I think the news release mentioned something about potentially potassic zone being overprinted or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was something about overprinting. It's like, what does that mean? And, what doesn't make it, or is it a good or a bad sign? Does it make it harder or easier to, vector in?
Okay, so let me explain that part because it is a little bit of technical, um, I guess, detail that maybe I'll try to distill down a little bit. So in the drilling that we've done thus far, uh, you look at the overall alteration within the rocks to determine when you're getting to the hotter part of the system. So when you go from the outside part of the system, we call that the propylitic. As you're coming in hotter, you come into phyllic. You can come into inner propylitic. You can come into potassic, which is in your central part of the core. And that's the model that's sort of defined by where you're going to get your best copper grades. But what you also see in these systems is you can get overprinting alteration. And that overprinting alteration is very common in these systems. Very often it is a sericite chlorite overprinting. It happens after you get the big hot potassic zones that take place. And it usually is right over top and within the hottest part of the system that has the best part of the copper mineralization. So we've had our own internal experts, including Dr. Craig Hart, obviously reviewing things, but we also bring in third-party expertise, people like Dr. Alan Wilson, Dr. Mike Sepp. Last year we had Dr. Abdul Razik. All of these people have, extremely, very high IQ when it comes to porphyry systems. And the feeling that looking at the rocks is that we get these porphyry style B veins. These are very linear style veins that are common in almost every different porphyry system. They usually come up vertically. They have very strong parallel walls. They usually have, they're quartz. They have magnetite. They have pyrite, chalcopyrite, molybdenum. They're very common in these systems, and those only generate with potassium temperature and related fluids. So those are basically potassic. They're associated with potassic alteration. But then as the system develops and goes through its long process of fluid flow, you can get an overprinting of what's called this sericite chlorite. And that changes the rocks. But these porphyry style veins that are in there, it tells you that they formed in the hot part of the system. They're where you generally want to be. But even within that, you still have to, find your way to the best part of that kind of the system. And that could be a little bit deeper, that could be a little bit more lateral. And again, we're not dealing with small systems here. So, this drill program tested 500 meters by 500 meters, and we're in nice looking veins and nice alteration. We're just not in the best part. We know that.
Right. I mean, it kind of, um, for better or worse, is like the bigger the target, especially this kind of target. I mean, the bigger it is, the more ground you have to test in a sense. I mean, if it was a really small target you were after, it's like great, there's only one place maybe the center can be. But in this case, it's like the good thing about it is that it's big. So there's, I mean, theoretically potential for a very large deposit or deposits. And I remember Craig Hart mentioning one of the early news releases, what was the quote? Well, massive fluid flow, kind of. That's like, and as you're saying, it's like you're hitting, yeah, I think you said that. It's like every single hole has had porphyry rocks basically from top to bottom. So it's like it's with this drilling, for example. I mean, the footprint of porphyry has expanded. I don't know how much, but it's like a lot. So which just confirms that it's a big friggin' porphyry system. But also, okay, how to get such a big friggin' porphyry system? Maybe multiple centers, and in that case, I mean, I guess there could be, I mean, would you say there could be scrambling of like signals that, okay, if it's getting to hotter to the east, I mean, that might be one porphyry center, and then the geochemistry comes back, and all of a sudden maybe there pops up one in, northwest, for example, that is like, you still might be only vectoring into one of potentially multiple porphyry centers, right?
Well, this is again where what I always try to bring back the, I guess it's a little bit of reality to what we've done. When we picked this up, it had never had a drill hole in it. It had, historic work recognized a alteration footprint, but didn't recognize where they were in the system. Didn't, all the geochem that was done, it was in, different phases and wasn't complete over the whole project area. So we've gone a long ways in understanding uh, the the large picture of what we're dealing with, and that is what you just mentioned. It's the it's the number of veins we see, it's the style of veins we see, it's the amount of fluid that's coming through the system. It's over a large area now. So all of those give us really big confidence that we're onto a dynamic system. I mean, we've done other fertility studies to tell us that we're in the right kind of oxidized intrusions. So we know that we have the potential to have, these copper bearing, centers and so on. So we've done all that work, but again, the other kind of reality is we've really just touched it. And we really have just gotten into it. And I mean, I always say it, it could be any drill hole. I worked on a big copper porphyry system in Chile that we were fortunate enough to be able to sell to a major. But the discovery hole on that one was, I think, the 13th hole. That was really good, to be able to do it on 13. And we think that on Kendal it could be the 11th. Yeah, maybe it's the 20th, but we've still put very little capital into this. And the capital that we have put into it has been flow through dollars. So we've been very um, non-dilutive to shareholders. And again, like this program didn't cost us a lot of capital. It gave us some information, but it wasn't like we blew the treasury to go and test the Kendal Ridge zone. So we're going to be coming back. We're going to have more information by all the new chemistry that we've done. We're going to try to open up the road network to the east as well to open up that whole area. So it is a little bit of a process, but it can always be just the next drill hole, and you're into it.
I mean that's what makes it, I think, Red Canyon pretty simple story. I mean, if you, I just look at, I think it's Brent Cook who said, who cares? Look at who cares about a junior, for example. And I guess tech is merging now with a big company. But anyway, I mean, that's a tens of billion-dollar company. And I think the market cap of Red Canyon when they invested was like 8-9 million. So I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that I guess tech is looking for something that's hopefully worth more than 10 million. And then I look at what the market cap is for Red Canyon, and I just figure that there's almost no chance of success priced in, which means that, I mean, it's obviously a high risk exploration because it's pre-technical discovery hole. But I mean, I like the risk reward, obviously. I don't know if it's going to end up being uh, you're going to find a huge tech-sized deposit, but I like the odds given the current market cap. And on that point, there's like, what should you kind of talked about, I guess, already. It's like, what can investors expect in terms of news flow from Red Canyon in, let's say, next 6 months? And I also know, I mean, obviously, this is only part of the portfolio. I mean, typical Newcrest manner, you give yourself a lot of cans to kick, which obviously de-risks it to the upside. So, I mean, you need to get lucky once. And if you, I mean, the more drilling you do, obviously that increases that, especially if it's getting hotter, the direction you're drilling. And then also, I mean, the background project portfolio, because I mean, it's my opinion that, and that's why I like multi-asset juniors, is that the market that can't focus on one thing or more than one thing at any point in time. The way I'm looking at it, and this is not investing advice, but it's like, I think it's a lowly priced bet on Kendal, and then you get the rest of the portfolio for free. So it's like, should one expect, well, what news should one expect, and are you looking to do anything with Isana and Scraper Springs, for example? Because I'm personally very excited about Scraper Springs. I mean, I think a lot of people would be if they look at that alteration footprint. So yeah, can you, if you're able to, can you speak about
Sure.
that?
So you're right. First of all, we work on a project portfolio um, sort of direction, so to speak. Again, all of these projects are 100% owned. So, we give, shareholders that big torque to big discovery. We would, under the right circumstances, look at, partnership on some of these projects, but I think, anybody who knows the Newquest Capital Group and the type of partnerships we look for, we're quite specific in what we're interested in. Uh, Backing up a little bit, though, on just some of your comments, tech or any other major being associated at this early stage, they're not interested in the one drill program. They're interested in the portfolio, or parts of the portfolio. In this particular case, yes, they're interested in Kendal because they see that large system that we just talked about and the fantastic infrastructure that comes with that. And that's all the majors. They all have their specifics on what they're interested in, but it wasn't just this one drill program. Moving on to the portfolio, we're really excited about Kendal. Obviously, I've mentioned that. We think it's we think it's a discovery. We know it's a discovery. We're just not into the economic part of the discovery. So that's one thing that is kind of specific, and obviously that is ultimately what's most important. We have to find the economic part of it. Uh, let's move to these other projects that you talked about in Zana. So in Zana, we've been doing background work on that one with regard to different mapping, geochemistry, geophysics, And there's some historical drill holes that were drilled on two different areas within Nzana. We're taking all of this data because we think that the areas are still wide open for discovery. And we think that we'll be in a position to drill test two different target areas and potentially more come spring next year. So we raised additional capital through this last flow through financing. We'll expect to deploy some of that at Nzana. And I know that we've talked before, but just as an example, the camp zone on the northern part of Nzana, it's got a beautiful 1 kilometer by, let's call it 1 kilometer magnetic feature. It's got some really nice IP signatures that come across it. It's got all the right kind of alteration that you'd look for an alkalic copper gold system. It's in the right kind of geological terrain. It's structurally bound by two different faults that we see. And all of this leads us to, historical drill holes that actually had significant copper and gold in them. One of the drill holes hit 125 meters of 0.18 copper, and it was increasing with gold down hole, and all the right kind of alteration that you'd expect. So we know now, and we're doing a lot of the same kind of work within inflection and how you vector into these alkalic systems. And we think that we're really on the edge of something with all the right characteristics that you're looking for. So that one will definitely be tested. And just to use a kind of unicorn example, which was the Cadia Ridgeway discovery, that discovery really used a combination of geochemistry, a little bit of geophysics. It was looking on trend. And, they drilled a series of drill holes that were close to discovery. One of the drill holes that was 150 meters away from some of the best discovery numbers that we've seen hit almost identical values to what we have at camp. Now, I'm not saying that we have a Cadia Ridgeway. That would be fantastic if we did. But what it is saying is it's the same kind of trend that, you try to puzzle to get into, economic grades. And we're going to test that, in spring next year. So we're really excited about that one. And as well as, several other targets that we're building up to be tested at the Nzana project. Scraper Springs has been a favorite of ours for a long time. We've had lots of different interest from major mining companies. We would like to partner that one, but again, as I said before, Eric, we're pretty specific on what we're interested in. So we've again built this almost as far along as we think we want to take it before drill testing it, and we could do that ourselves in partnership potentially. But the reality for us is we've kept it on the sidelines. We know it's a very, very large system, and we're looking at the hopes of a partnership. But we're more than willing under the right circumstances to go and drill it ourselves. And when you look at the alteration footprint, the geophysics, the location, everything says we're onto a big system. We've got great targets to go and test. And that one, again, as you were saying, could be, very, very large. So, Red Canyon is about, using this strong geoscience to, narrow into these types of systems to reduce the risk on them for shareholders. But we are looking for, big home runs. We're not looking for tiny little veins. We're looking for, massive billion-dollar assets. And there's risk. I mean, it is a risky part of the business. We're just trying to, give multiple shots and mitigate those by really good geoscience.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that's a good segment about how I look at Red Canyon. It's like you have, let's say, near-term success potential at, I mean, as you said, I mean, the very next hole at Kendal could theoretically be the, let's say, aha moment like they had at Cadia Ridgeway, and also in Sana, obviously there's a porphyry there, there's copper porphyry mineralization there with some good grades. Could also be, who knows, within 150 meters of let's say the guts of that system, if it is in fact there. And then you also have, I mean, you have even more products, but then you have the humongous Scraper Springs in the background. That's like, it's not gone anywhere. It hasn't been properly tested. I bet everybody, I mean, every major and their mother probably has been looking at that once or twice. So I mean, and then again, I mean, the easiest or the only thing we know is the market cap at any given time. So I still look at it like, yes, it's obviously high risk. I mean, that goes without saying, but your targets, and it's like, I mean, just looking at the people involved, the insider ownership, tech being involved, I mean, it's like one of the most obvious high risk, high reward plays there is, in my opinion. Again, not going to say that it's a guaranteed success, but if this isn't, a cheap bet, I don't know what is. And of course, that's why I'm in it. But I'm also, cognizant of the fact that right now, before you have that, real liquidity event, if when that happens, it's a long-term bet, because you can't really, it's not easy to buy, it's not easy to sell, and that also opens up, of course. I mean, if you end up hitting something that really turn some heads, I mean, it could get really fun. But going back to that, to just point out that I think also it is it's good in the sense because you have a long-term vision. I mean, if you're in a very illiquid junior, for example, and it's like a short-term case or whatever, you don't trust the management team, or it's a crappy project, I mean, you're probably going to lose money, or you can't get out even if you want to. But you have, a pipeline of projects. So you're buying yourself, time and multiple shots to succeed. Also, a huge skin in the game. I mean, it's like you can't make any money really unless there's a big success. So you have all the incentive in the world, more than any of us, retail shareholders, to actually make this into a big success, which means you're going to set yourselves up to have the best odds of making that success, and obviously take care of the, let's say, share structure and all of that, because it's not going to, you wouldn't even make any money if, everything got diluted by 99%, for example. I mean, that's just a ridiculous extreme case. But so I think, I mean, to sum up, is like, I view this as one of the more no-brainer from a risk-reward perspective, high-risk, high-reward bets there is out there. I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't know how Red Canyon is going to look in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months or whatever. I just know what the price I'm paying for it, the bet, and I can see the projects that you have to bet on, and the fact is, like, as you said, you never know what could be the discovery hole. I mean, sometimes you make a discovery in, I think you said hole 13 earlier. In some other, I guess, examples, like world-class success, it took like, I don't know, 60 holes or something. So you just don't know. But at the same time, that's what makes it so, goddamn fun and exciting. I mean, it's terrifyingly exciting, as I like to call it, because it's, Schrodinger's cat. If I took a time machine and traveled 12 months ahead in time, maybe you made that, discovery hole at Kendal or in San or whatever it might be, and we're talking about no problems of liquidity, for example, or you might still be looking in 12 months, for example. It's like, you don't know, I don't know, but I just think it's, if you like this part of the, let's say, Lassonde curve, which is basically exploration, I think it's certainly worth to take a look at the Newquest group companies because they're all set up based on basically that it's a numbers game. Give yourself as many chances to succeed as you possibly can, and have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and plan D. So, and in my opinion, you're typically only paying for plan A. I don't think Scraper Springs is reflected at all. I don't think Insana is reflected at all. And again, these are my biased opinions, but I think we touched on quite a few things. I mean, are there any, you want to correct me on anything, or do you want to maybe leave some last words?
I'm first of all, I'm in agreement with you. We set the capital structure on these things so that management has a big position. We participate in every financing. I think I'm probably the largest individual shareholder of Red Canyon, and will continue to be so. Uh, the the idea and the way that we build these things is, as I mentioned before, is first of all, the management teams have a long history, and myself and key guys like Dr. Craig Hart, experts in porphyry systems. So I think we know today much more than what we did even 5 years ago on geochemistry behind these systems. The geophysics is becoming more and more advanced. Projects themselves are harder and harder to find, but as I said before, what we try to do is we try to use this science in jurisdictions that we think that we can make true discoveries in. And we think the type of projects that we're going after will be very impactful for shareholders. So, I feel like it's a very risky business. We try to mitigate that to be able to give shareholders a shot at big success. So we're going to continue to do it. We're going to look at these projects that we have right now, and we think there's a great shot at one of these massive successes. But we're always looking as well for other things, and we're going to bring other things into the portfolio as well. So we like what we've got thus far. We're going to continue to develop those, and we're going to bring other things in as well.
Yeah, those are great points. Again, I just think it goes to show that, I mean, you're here for the long term. I mean, it's like you're going to be obsessing about Red Canyon every single day, so I don't need to, I mean, that's just how it is. It's like that's what I would consider, a hodl case, hold on for dear life, come back in, 6 months or 12 months, check and see what has happened, because I don't see yeah, I mean, the more I look at the stock, it's not going to make the progress go any quicker, and it's again a high risk, high reward, but with multiple bets. So thank you so much, Wendell. Let's see what people appreciate these updates. Maybe we'll do some more in the future.
That's fantastic. Appreciate the support, and happy to do this anytime.
Sounds good. Bye bye.
Thanks, Erik. Bye.